everyone? Welcome to the channel. So let's get into some Starfield news here. The game is coming out next week. I believe the reviews are going to start dropping by the end of this week. And this is a video that has been just sort of sitting in the back pocket for a while now. This is the Bethesda Direct. I think that's what they are, the Starfield Direct, where Todd Howard and Bethesda studio developers go through and they broke down some of the mechanics of the game and how things work, and what they showed most importantly to me was gameplay, and that's what I want to go through. So let's go through this. I have some notes here, so let's walk through, because there are some things that I want to point out. And I know this is old. I know this came out 2 months ago, and there's been some more news, especially just this last couple of days. Some news has been breaking regarding this game, and so I'm gonna finish up with that. But there are things that I've been wanting to talk about with this game, that I've been wanting to point out with the Starfield Direct. I've seen it multiple times. I have a lot of little things to point out, and I think there are some things that are a big deal that are being completely overlooked, and I think it's important that people pay attention to these sort of critiques of Bethesda specifically, because they have a history of not finishing games. They have a history of putting games out that are incomplete. They rely on modders. They rely on, fan feedback to go in and update the game. And that's not, updating a game after it releases is not just a Bethesda thing. But me personally, I think Bethesda they have a history, and they have a precedent that they have set themselves of releasing games that are not ready. And there are things that are in this video that I want to go over that I think highlight that. And I think that customers should be really concerned, and they should be paying attention to these types of things that I'm going to go over before they purchase or even spend their time. I know if you got Game Pass and you get it with your Game Pass subscription, that's fine. But still, I just think that time is probably the most important commodity. And if you play this game with the expectations that are out there right now, they've actually kind of backed down a little bit, but leading up to just this week, the expectations have been through the roof. So let's get into this video. Like I said, I have some notes, some timestamps. This is one I've been wanting to go through for a while now. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I do like the music. I think the music's cool. And I think this is a really cool opening. I mean, there are things about this that I do like, so this isn't just like I'm here to trash this and trash Starfield. But there are some things to critique here.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to Bethesda Game Studios. We've been so lucky over the decades to make the kind of games that we love here, and that's thanks to all of you. From the Elder Scrolls to Fallout, we love creating these worlds and playing in them just as much as you do.
Okay, so right there I need to point something out. So I'm not a fan of Todd Howard. I've made no qualms about that. I've said it multiple times on this channel. The guy's, he's been caught lying so many times, and his defenders continue to defend him no matter what. And now that he works for Xbox, the Xbox defenders, the Defense Force Green, they are in full mode right now. They've done everything they can to just basically sweep under the rug everything this guy has lied about. And it's really annoying. I can't stand it. I'm getting really tired of YouTubers, and that's a totally different video, but I'm just getting tired of the running cover and the lack of integrity that a lot of YouTubers have right now. But I'm just not a fan of this guy. Everything he says is just marketing speak. He's just here to hype up the game, which is not a bad thing. But when you are known for lying, and you've been caught lying several times, it matters. This isn't just, hey, the game is going to be fun, it's a great experience, and they start using all these buzzwords. He has actually bull-faced lied about shit in the past. So this guy, I'm not a fan of his at all.
And throughout all that time, we'd often talk about and dream up the space game. What if we could take that feeling of being who you want to be and exploring a new world, but set it in space, where you weren't really limited in where you could go or what you could do?
Okay, right there. Okay. So this is part of the news that just broke. I was watching a channel this morning, Reforge Gaming. Found the channel about 3 months ago. I really like the guy so far. I think his style, the guy's name's Lono, and his style is really cool. I like it. The news that came out recently, I think yesterday, was that you can't just go anywhere and do anything. And even in my notes, when I wrote these notes a few weeks ago, that was one of the things that I had questions when we go through some of the gameplay itself. I had questions about what you can and cannot do in this game. And one of the things that he just said, in terms of you can just go anywhere and do anything, you can't. And we'll get into that.
And that is Starfield. Obviously, we've come a long way since then.
Okay, there's another thing I wanted to point out too. So he has, and Bethesda have been riding on Fallout 3 and Skyrim forever. Okay, those games are good games. They're great games. I won't even say good. They're great games. They have a place in gaming history as breakthrough games for their time. Skyrim was a buggy mess. Fallout was a buggy mess. They do not put out games that are quality. That's not their thing. What they do is they try to push, usually they try to push boundaries, at least they used to. They try to push boundaries to create something new. And I've always felt that was some of the slack that most people gave them, which I thought was half fair. Yes, I understand they're not really focused on that. They're really trying to start a new genre. They're always trying to redefine things, and I'm like, well, Fallout 3 was like a redefining of open world games. Go anywhere, do anything. You don't have to just go to each mission. You can play that game any way you wanted to. At the time, that was a big deal. Skyrim was this huge game where you could literally get into anything and do anything, and it was more of Fallout 3, but it was set in the Skyrim world, which in the Elder Scrolls world, which that's great. I think that's awesome, and the game was very successful. But it does not negate the fact that they were both very buggy and messy. And then you look at Fallout 4, it was the same thing. And I don't care what anybody says, this revisionist history that Fallout 4 was this amazing thing. No, it was just more Fallout, and they added some base building, but it was still buggy as hell. It was crashing all the time. I played that game. I put about, I don't know, maybe 15 hours into it, and it was okay. It wasn't amazing, but a lot of people have been overlooking what these games truly are. And I think that since Skyrim, the quality of Bethesda has just been getting worse and worse. And Fallout 76, it's the same thing. People, that game came out and it was absolutely trash. It didn't work. It was broken. It was, all of the promises that were made were not, they were just broken. It wasn't true. He lied and Bethesda lied. And people overlooked it because they said, oh, that wasn't Bethesda proper. That was some other studio. I'm sorry, but Todd Howard stood on the stage and bragged about it and said all these things. I mean, sorry, you're the quarterback, you're the head coach. You're going to get the heat for this. And he should. You know, I mean, the guys, he's lied. And he's still hanging on to this Skyrim and Fallout 3 thing. And on all of the Bethesda defense people and then Xbox defense, they all hang their hats on those two games. Like, that's it. And Oblivion. Now, people have gone back and they're like, what about Oblivion? Oblivion was like 20 years ago. So I'm tired of this legacy shit. I'm just tired of Todd Howard and Bethesda just riding on their legacy. And they're still not, they haven't reached that peak of what made Skyrim special and what made Fallout 3 special. They haven't done that since Skyrim. So that always bugs me.
Our technology and all of us here.
It's so funny right there. You see the game, it cut really fast as they're going through.
Or what you could do, and that is Starfield.
Watch this.
Obviously,
Look at Oblivion, Fallout, Skyrim, Fallout 4. Oh, 76. Cut it. They cut that quick.
All of us here in the studio. We've done so much together.
All right, so you know what? I'm going to go ahead, and those are the couple of points that I wanted to make about what I think of Starfield and Bethesda. But let's get into the actual game. So, first thing I want to note right now that I saw when I was watching this, right here at the bottom, it says in-game footage. That to me is a positive. I think that's good because what we are seeing right now is what you're going to actually play. Now, this came out 2 months ago, so it probably won't look that much better, but it could. It might be a little more cleaned up, but it's not going to be any more different than what you're seeing. It really isn't. So in-game footage, I actually thought it was a plus.
Starfield is our first new universe in over 25 years.
Okay, next thing I noticed right out of the gate, There's going to be a lot of slow pans. The camera will not move fast, really. There's a couple of shots where it does, but these big, with the big backdrops and the big vistas behind you, or I'm sorry, in front of you and like in the camera, they really just slow pan that stuff. And I think it's because they chose to go 30 frames per second. Now, Todd Howard, if you listen to him and believe him, he says that it was a creative decision because they focus on fidelity. They focus on how it looks and not how it does the speed of the frames. So that's why they didn't choose 60 frames per second. I think we've reached a point where 60 frames per second is a part of fidelity. So you can have 4K and it looks amazing. Like you freeze the frame, it looks really cool. This looks really pretty. But as soon as you start moving the camera around, if it starts chopping and it starts getting stuttery, I think that is a graphical and fidelity problem. And I don't think that it has anything to do with a choice of this is what we wanted to do. I think it's what they had to do. That's just my guess, but I think it's a Bethesda problem, but I also think it's an Xbox Series S problem, which has been just a chain around the neck of the Xbox Corporation, period. That system is dragging the all of the Xbox games, Game Pass, first party studios, third party studios now. And I'm not talking about Bethesda, I'm talking about something else, but there are third-party studios that are struggling to make the parity between the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X. And I think that this is just another symptom of that problem.
But it's still a Bethesda RPG through and through, where you step into a new world and you get that feeling of unlimited possibilities.
So right here, one of the things I noticed was this foliage right here, and you'll see this a lot. If you pay attention to the foliage like this, I'm not saying it's all like that because this tree doesn't look too bad or anything, but a lot of these, especially when you get into the city, you'll see that it's basically like paper mache. Like it's flat and it's just pieces that give the illusion of 3 dimensions, but it's just basically like totally blank flat pieces that are interlaid.
But this time, it's not just one world.
Looks pretty.
It's over 1,000.
That looks cool.
worlds. Because
Slow
the
pan,
choice
slow pan,
of
slow
where
pan.
to go, it's not ours. It's yours. And it wasn't until now.
And one thing I noticed too was you'll see this a lot. Like you'll see dust and it looks as though there's wind of some sort, but the trees, the bushes, they don't react to it. So it comes off as messy.
That we had the technology to create it. From the rocks at your feet to the mountains in the distance, to the people and creatures that live in these worlds. That isn't just a backdrop. That moon is actually there orbiting the planet. Yes, you can visit it too.
Okay, so he's talking about this moon right here. I think that I had my questions when this direct came out about that, when he said it, because that statement is a bold statement. Because in my mind, when I hear that, it means I can leave, get in my ship, and I can fly away and go flying to that moon and land and explore. There is now proof that that's not entirely true. So we'll get into that some more later, but again, just more marketing bullshit speak.
We realistically simulate the galaxy around you. Our next generation lighting model uses real-time global illumination to light the world based on the type of star and the makeup.
Yeah, see, and this looks really good to me. I know these are slow panning shots, and it's, if you pay attention, you can actually see the way the camera moves. It's like the backdrop is kind of moving. It's hitching a little bit. It doesn't change the fact that I think it looks really good.
Of the planet's atmosphere. We also
see like that. You see like this stuff is moving. Like this foliage right here, this is moving, but the trees are totally static. So just to me, it didn't look right to me.
And of course, you can play it in third person, and you can play it in first person.
Now, see, as soon as you start running fast, you can see the screen is just sort of hitching, like that 30 FPS. I think it hurts it. I think it really does.
We love exploration and rewarding it, but you do explore differently in this game given its scale. That usually involves exploring an area you've landed in.
Okay, key word there. Now, knowing what we know now, which again, I'll get into it some more later and kind of break down what I heard this morning, but him saying exploring the area that you landed in, that is actually clever wording, because that is exactly what that means. If what I heard this morning, again, and I'm not hanging what I heard this morning from Reforged Gaming like, oh, he lied. If it ain't true, it's his fault. No, I'm saying it because I believe this guy. I think he's telling the truth. And you know, I don't think this was just like some guess or whatever. This was some stuff that had been reported, because there are copies that are in the wild right now. There are people actually reviewing this game, and there's one person who actually broke NDA and posted like 30 minutes of the opening of the game, which they got in trouble. And if I'm not mistaken, they just got arrested. And that's not cool. Don't break NDAs. But the landing in an area and exploring it, that specifically means there is walls. There are boundaries to where you can go.
You can collect resources.
A lot of people talk trash on the laser, and they say like, oh, that's just like No Man's Sky. They're ripping off No Man's Sky. To me, sure, it's the same function. It's the same thing. That's how you mine for goods. But I don't think that I don't see it as like this revolutionary thing that No Man's Sky did. It's in the future. It's science fiction. If the character were to break out a pickaxe and start swinging an axe or something, or using an axe to chop down a tree, that would be really, it would throw me off. It would be really out of place. So using a mining laser just makes sense. And I understand the criticism there, but I don't know. That one never really stuck. I was never like, oh my God, see, they just stole. They just copied. It just fits. I mean, there maybe another game will come along with and do something completely different for mining, or mining for resources. But to me, I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Mission, and maybe even stumble upon something unexpected.
Okay, so this is where it starts getting funky to me. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play out this little sequence in regular speed. I'm not going to stop it, and then I'm going to roll it back, and I'm going to slow it down, and I'm going to show you some very specific things. But when you watch this, I want you to pay attention to really like the gunplay, the gunfire, and the mechanics and the physics. I want you to really pay attention, because to me, this is off.
We do love stuff.
Okay. So now let's back it up. Let's go to, I have it marked here. So let's go back to here. Hold on, I'm going to back it up just a little bit further. I'm going to stop here. Okay, so now let's slow it down. Change the speed. Okay, and actually I need to turn the volume down too, because it's going to sound weird. So let's turn this down a little bit. Okay. Okay, so right there, if you pay attention to the person firing the gun, you can tell like there's little bits where it just doesn't look like it's on. It looks like the bullets are just kind of coming from random places, but that's not even the big stuff. Okay, number one. The player pulls out the gun, goes ADS, aim down the sights, puts the crosshairs right on the head of this person, of this enemy, just empties the mag, and there's no reaction. The enemy just sat there and took it. That was one of the things that was noticed in the very first release of the gameplay, was that enemies had zero reaction to any of the bullets. And to me, that one stuck out. It's not even the worst part. Okay, right there. So this happened in the first review of the gameplay, and they still haven't fixed it. It's better than what it was, because it was way worse than this, which is hard to believe. But look here. So if you look here, this is the barrel right here. This is the barrel of the gun. You can see the muzzle flash. Look at the bullet. Look at the bullet trajectory. If you follow the muzzle flash, you'd be aiming and hitting somewhere in front of this person at their feet. And then you can see clearly that the bullets just arced and just completely shot in a different direction. They left the barrel and just turned. Now, some people would say that's aim assist, which a lot of games have that. Usually you can toggle it on or off in the settings, but basically that just means there's like a zone in the center of where your crosshairs go, and if you get close to that while you're pulling the trigger, it basically will pull your sight over your enemy and give you just a little bit better of an accuracy. It's not a cheat. It's not like it's not something where you don't even have to think or anything like that. It's usually really subtle. This is not subtle. It should not look like this. Let's see here. I had some other timestamps on this one, so yeah, so that one. And then if you go a little bit further, right, oh, I missed it. There you go. So let's back up. I hate when it does that. So let's back up just a little bit. Right there, you can see that. Now if I can just get it. No, this is gonna be tough. I'll try my best to get this right. You can see that one. So there's one of them right here. And I know there's a worse one. You can see this right here. The bullet didn't even come from the gun. Like it came from some random area. And then right there, look, there were 3 shots. Boom, boom, boom. You can clearly see that there's 3 bullets, and this bullet is coming from up here. There's no muzzle flash. It's not even shooting out of the barrel. The barrel's way down here. These bullets are coming from up here. If you go back, you can see there's multiple rounds. Look at that. Look at that one. This one came from way up here. Like way from not even close to the gun. No muzzle flash, no nothing. The bullet just comes flying out of nowhere. I'm telling you, this was way worse on the first review like a year ago. This is still crap. This to me is trash. And I think this is what I'm talking about when I say, because I watch reviews and I watch people who watch this, and I wanted to hear what people had to say about it. I wanted to get their takes because I already had mine. And it was just like none of this was even questioned. It was just like, oh man, did you see that? Oh, I get to bounce around with my jetpack and just, I get to fire down on enemies, and I could go anywhere and do anything. And the gunplay looks really good. And I kept hearing that because if you don't know, Bethesda has no track record for putting out good gunplay. They have a system that's in their Fallout games, because Fallout is technically a first-person shooter, RPG. They have a system called VATS. Don't know what it's an acronym. I don't care what it stands for, but basically it's a system where you hit a button and it's an ability that slows down time, and then you have a certain amount of time to select targets that you want to shoot at on an enemy. You can shoot their legs, their heart, their head, whatever. And a lot of people, they take the VATS thing and they just sort of throw it away, and they ignore the fact that the VAT system is actually protecting just how bad. Oh, wow. A loud car just drove by. Sorry if you heard that. That came through. That was really loud in my head. Sorry. So the VAT system sort of shielded just how bad the first person shooting was, the gunplay of Fallout. And to me, this is exactly right on cue, right where I figured they were going to be. This is not good. And I think this is just I don't think that this is gonna go away. I don't think that this came out 2 months ago, and then when the game releases next week, it's all fixed. I don't think so. I think you're gonna see this exact same thing in this game. You can just see, look at that, bang, bang, bang. All these just like multiple rounds just come through. Move it a little further. It can be a little loud. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more just in case it's too loud in your ears. Okay, you go up here. Here's the next one. There it is again. There's the bullet coming out of nowhere. Muzzle flash, bullet. Another one. Muzzle flash, no muzzle flash, I mean. And then a bullet flies out there. There's another one again. Yeah, you can just see. Dang it, I hate when it does that. You can just see. Now, at least the enemy reacted to this, so I'll give it that. Now, there was people like, there's a lot of oohs and ahs about, oh man, look how realistic that is. There's gravity here. I don't know why this person lifted up off the ground after getting shot in the head. They just flew away almost. And then it's interesting because it just cuts. Watch. Bloop. Now we leave. We cut to this. And then this is the next thing right here. This is going to be a nitpick. And people are like, oh, you're just picking on not the whole game. The game's too big to have all these little details. Okay, fair enough. But I think this looks like shit. This little ragtag. Like, look at the lines here. It just looks bad. Whatever this like blanket or some sort of like fabric that's laying over the roof of this, it just looks bad. And then that's not really what the problem is here for me. People freaked out over this too. Now, okay, is neat. That's a neat. I think it's cool that happened, but it looked terrible. Like the flame looks terrible. Like, look at it. You can tell. Like you can tell that this flame just does not match the surroundings at all. The enemy matched it. The enemy slammed into the roof like it should have, but it just did not match. Like the flame did not match what we were seeing. All right, so let's go ahead and cut ahead. I think let's leave it at that speed for now. And then I'm going to pull up my notes again because I have a ton of timestamps that I don't want to get too deep in the woods here because I could spend all day with this stuff. So the next one was here. So looking at the foliage here, again, this is something, and it gets worse when I get to like the actual, the city. Just the foliage looks like trash to me. It just looks bad. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm actually going to change the speed to normal speed. We don't need to slow down this part. But look at that. Look how fuzzy that looks. Like, I just happened to stop it here. Like, look at this tree right here. This just looks fuzzy as hell. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I think this robot looks cool as hell. I don't know what the design of this, whoever designed this, good job. I think this looks awesome.
I left Bosco here back at my ship. Welcome back, Captain Howard. And he can even say your name. Let's head out.
Okay, so I need to talk about something there. You can clearly see that when you walk up to Vosk, or whatever his name is, Bosco, and then you head to the right here. You click board right here. So you go up to the door, icon comes up, you press board, and then it fades out and it goes to a loading screen. There was a lot of people who downplayed that and made it seem like, what's the big deal? I had a question when the first day I saw this. I was like, man, how many loading screens are we talking about here? Because if you go back to Skyrim, there was a lot of loading screens. It was terrible. You couldn't even go into a little tiny hut without like a 30-second loading screen. They've come a long way from that, and that's not what I'm thinking is going to happen. But I do think there is going to be tons of invisible walls that are going to be hidden by loading screens like that. That's my prediction. Once again, you see the ship here. It lights up. The thrusters kick in. You see all this smoke, and they love this. They love this debris thing. The grass doesn't move. There's no reaction whatsoever. It's just a bunch of dust. if you took away the dust, this lame, because I think it looks like trash. I think this smoke effect or this dust debris effect, I don't think it looks good. If you remove that, it would the ship wouldn't even look like it was taken off. It would look completely out of place because nothing reacts to it. The ground didn't bother with it. All right, let's move along here. Let's see, 25. Here we go. I'm going to jump ahead to right here. So I'm going to back it up a little bit here because I do want to point out a couple of things that I actually like about this game. And one of the things that I liked is the art style. I really like the way the inside of the ship looks. It just has that feel of it, and they even talk about it in this direct that they wanted to go with something that was retro and sort of analog, but also a digital. So, and everything looks like it's lived in. And I think they accomplished that through and through. I'm super impressed. Like just little things like you got some house slippers just chilling right here. You know, it's just like the helmet with a sticker on it. And you know, it's not perfect and pristine. It actually has like some character to it, like a little bit of dirt, a little wear and tear. I really like it. Yeah. Yeah, see, and I think that's cool. I think that what they chose to do at least on the internal of this ship, I think is cool. I think it looks really good. I'm going to turn this back up.
It starts with the planet you're currently on. You can see.
So right away, I had a question when I saw this. Okay, and listen to what he says.
All of its info and resources. You can choose a landing spot or fast travel to known locations.
Okay. So this information just came out this morning, and so I want to talk about this. My understanding, because I was listening to, as I was driving to work this morning, I was listening to, like I said, Reforge Gaming on my phone in my truck, and he was explaining it, and to me, I was like, okay, I think I get what he's saying. So you can see here, they talk about these landing spots, these fast travel like icons. Typically, fast travel in games is very common. It's nothing new. Don't have a problem with that. But my question was right out of the gate was, so can you only land on those locations? Okay, and that's the first thing I thought of. But then he actually says, right here, he says that you can choose your own landing location, right? Right there. Let me back it up just a little bit more. Right there. See the icon right here? He says that's your landing spot, right? So you can land wherever you want. Now, to me, I was thinking, oh, okay, so you can go anywhere, because when this game first released, when the news came out and the first gameplay came out, all of the marketing speak and all of the Xbox lovers, they were just going on about, oh my God, this is better than No Man's Sky. You can do everything that No Man's Sky, you can do everything that in this game that you can do in No Man's Sky, only this is a Bethesda RPG, so it's going to be 10 times better. At the time, I was like, yeah, if they can accomplish that, sure, yes. If they can do exactly what you can do and have the ability to move around freely at will, like No Man's Sky, but then you throw in a really great, like, 3-act story that is like a choose your own adventure, multiple endings, you know, different alliances, choose different career paths, different, you know, romances, that type of stuff. I'm all in. That to me was what I was thinking when I was watching this. The first time the trailer dropped, I was thinking like, oh my God, over 1,000 planets, you can go anywhere. Like that's crazy. Like, and to me, you get a little bit of that. You get that sort of paralysis, that decision paralysis, because you can go anywhere and do anything, and there's so much to do, like you don't know what to do sometimes. That was the only really downfall that I thought could come from this. However, this morning when I was listening to the breakdown of this travel system and how you move around, the way I understood it was you can choose that landing spot. So you can choose an icon anywhere on the planet. And my understanding was anywhere. You click on it and you choose a landing spot. Your ship will land in that location and you can explore the area. And the key word, and he said that earlier when he said area, you can land and explore the area. That is very specific, because what is breaking right now and what the news is now, that you can't just go anywhere. You can't land on that icon and then just start walking in a direction and head towards the industrial outpost or the civilian outpost. You can't do that. Okay. because the way they built this game is some sort of like tile system. And the way it was explained was like this this marker here, this destination that was clicked on or chosen here to land, the game will generate a tile for you. Like, so it'll be a landmass area on the planet, and it will have it's a good sized chunk. My understanding is it's pretty big. However, it is randomly generated and it is specific to that one time you land there. If you go in one direction, any way, north, south, east, west, don't matter, you will hit an invisible barrier, and it will say you have reached the limit, or there, exceeded boundary, return to ship ? Okay, that to me is a big deal. That to me is a big misnomer, and once again, it's the marketing speak. It's the say one thing but really you mean another, because that's not like No Man's Sky. In No Man's Sky, you can literally fly to any part of the planet that you see. You can land wherever you want. You actually control the ship. You fly yourself down to the surface of the planet. And then you can skim across the waters. You can fly over the mountains or whatever, and then you can take off and go up whenever you want. That is not like this. That you cannot do this, and you cannot do that in this game. You will be confined to this tile. And the way I understood it was like, so there's tile 1, and there's tile 2, tile 3, tile 4, and tile 5. And so you can travel to each adjoining tile, but outside of that, it is like once you travel to that tile, like if you want to go to that next area, you can go to tile 3 or you can go to tile 2 if you want to. But once you load into that, the tiles behind you are no longer, they don't interact. And the way that it was explained, and I guess the way someone played the game, they went to a city, and you'll see some of the cities. They went to a city, and then you can look out on the vistas when you're wandering around the city, and you can see out, and you see the planet around. You can see mountains or water or snow or whatever. If you leave and you put a landing marker right next to the city, you cannot see the city from that marker. So when you land right next to this civilian outpost, on it, if you try to put a marker right next to it and you land and you start walking around, you cannot see the civilian outpost. You can't see in the city that you were just in, because they are not conjoined in that way, because the game is randomly generating every tile that you go to. Now, another thing that came up from that was, let's say you had, I think it was 4. I think I think it was 3. You could have 3 landing spots, right? So you could have 3 landing spots on 3 different tiles. If you go to a 4th tile and try to go to space and then create another landing spot, the first one you landed on will disappear. So I think the most that you could have active, I think it was 3, maybe it's wrong. We'll just say it's 4, but you cannot have, you can't just sit there and put landing spots all over the place and eventually cover the entire planet or the moon with landing spots, and then you can just roam around wherever you want. That's not how this works. To me, that's some bullshit, because that isn't what this game was marketed as. Now, again, he's a wordsmith. He knows how to bullshit sometimes, and sometimes it isn't just straight lies. So he did say area, and I think that was very specific, and I think it was very intentional. And I also think that it's bullshit. I think that this is just, once again, this is the setting the bar way up here, like promoting the world, just promising everything. You can do all these things. And then once you go to do them, then you're going to learn what your limitations are. You're going to learn what you really can and cannot do. And I think we're going to see a hell of a lot more than that. You look at Redfall, and I understand it's a different studio, but it's still under Bethesda Studios, okay? And it's still under Microsoft now. Redfall was touted as this Far Cry a multiplayer Far Cry game. Not even close. And when the game, the trailer started dropping and the gameplay footage dropped, which I did a video on, everyone criticized the player. They criticized IGN, and they ran them through the mud and just said, whoever's got the sticks, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to play a game. They're making this game look bad. And you had guys like Colt Eastwood post videos on his Twitter account saying that's not true. This is a disservice, and this is what I played. And then he showed 30 seconds of some shooting gallery, you know, I thought the footage was lame that he showed, but it was like people were running to protect Redfall before it even hit the shelves. And then Redfall comes out and is a total dud and sucks, and everything that they promised is not there. I don't think that this game is going to be a Redfall. I don't think it's going to land as hard and fall as flat as Redfall. But I think there's going to be a lot to criticize this game for. And once again, I'm used to this shit. I've seen Bethesda do this and Todd Howard do this. And I've heard Microsoft and Phil Spencer do the same shit. So it's just par for the course. But there's so many people that are just going out of their way to defend that and defend anything that any of these little things that are going to pop up. To me, they're big things. They're not little, but they're going to make them small. They're going to minimize them and make them seem like, oh, what's the big deal? Like, just enjoy the game. I'm having fun with the game. Why can't you just enjoy the game? Why are you trying to ruin my fun? It's like, I'm just pointing out the facts, man. This is truth. I'm just talking about the truth. If what was reported, because that's what's being reported right now. I'm not saying I played it and that I saw it firsthand. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if that's true, if what's being reported, this is some bullshit.
Or fast travel to known locations. Backing out further, you can view all the planets in the system. Obviously, the game is big, and it's here you can see planets that have key locations, missions, or life on them, versus the many planets that are barren but resource heavy. Right there.
Another thing he said, and this was another question that I had. Many planets that are barren. So majority of these planets are going to be barren, but resource heavy. So when I hear barren, to me, that means there's not going to be any life on it. So you're not going to see any monsters. There's not going to be any creatures. There's no pirates. There's no people. There's no nothing. When I hear barren, that means nothing. It's just a landscape. And it actually fits if we're talking about this tile system, that if that's real, if that's true, the tile system would actually, it would make more sense, because you wouldn't be feeling like you're exploring or needing to explore the entire planet. You could just land on one tile and do your mining for whatever and then bounce, right? I don't think that this is going to be as vast and as intriguing as they're making it sound, just based on that.
Zoom out even further to see all the systems in this part of the galaxy. Here you can plot a course to ones that are light years away. This uses your ship's grav drive to fold space and jump to these systems. And you will need to upgrade your ship and skills if you want to jump to the most distant ones. But for now, we'll plot a course to the Alpha Centauri system, where we can find the city of New Atlantis.
Okay. Another thing, you just gotta point out the similarities here. I mean, this is exactly like Starfield. I'm sorry, Starfield. The Starfield is exactly like No Man's Sky in that regard. Because you start off with a hyperdrive, and you can travel to certain areas, and then you have to farm, do missions or whatever, and you get resources to upgrade your ship, and then you can space jump to further away stars. Again, just one more thing, it looks very similar. I'm not saying that they absolutely stole it, like that's proof, but it's the exact same thing. So, okay, right here, he plotted the course, and then you press a button, and then you go, and to me, this is a loading screen. Like, this is an animated loading screen that's going to show you. So anytime you want to move from planet to planet, this is what you're going to see. Now, that wasn't a terrible loading screen. It's not like it's Destiny, okay? Destiny loading screens with your ship. I have wasted countless hours staring at my ship and 2 other Guardians or 5 other Guardians on my way to a raid, on my way to a strike, and you're just sitting there watching your ships fly over the locations. It's not that bad. So this is actually, I'm okay with this loading screen. I'm not shitting on it and saying like, oh, this is trash. I just think that number one, there's going to be more loading screens than they're showing. There's just little things, and they can edit this and cut it. I think there's going to be a lot of loading screens. So there we go. So click it, and then do you go right to this loading screen again, where you don't even fly in? When you click it, it just goes to the screen. Again, it could be quick edits. I don't know, but it is a question. And once again, they have the smoky debris. It's the same exact thing that there's no dirt, there's no nothing. This is a nice clean looking platform, and then it's the same smoke like that makes it look like, oh look, it's kicking up all this dust or whatever. And it's like, well, that makes sense on a planet that has dust, but this doesn't. So they just love the way that looks.
As you land in a city like New Atlantis, your eyes
All right,
are guided upwards to just these.
I'm gonna turn the volume down a little bit on this because
It's the biggest
this is the
Not just in size, but also in the amount of custom art.
well, hold on, I'm gonna back up real quick. There was something.
Focus when we're designing a city is
Your eyes are guided upwards to just these.
Okay, so I'm gonna just make a prediction. I don't think you can explore every single room here. I mean, if you can, wow, that's amazing. But I really don't think so. I think it's going to be controlled areas where you can go and venture into these little areas, similar to like Mass Effect, where in Mass Effect you would land on a planet and there would be it would look like this huge city, and you're like, oh, whoa. And then you were confined to this little tiny map that you walked around to different areas. And then you expanded into combat arenas and stuff where you had to do these side missions and main missions. But I don't think it's going to be that bad. I don't think it's going to be that small. But I seriously doubt you're going to be able to walk through this every single room and everything like that. I just don't think so. I think it's going to be way more confined.
Boundless, vast buildings.
They look cool. I think the buildings look great. Looks nice. One thing I'm going to point out right away, the foliage. Look at this tree right here down in the bottom left. Look at these right here, these bushes right here. It's just flat pieces of paper just laying on top of each other.
It's the biggest city we've ever made, not just in size, but also in the amount of custom art, crowds, and.
Another thing I noticed too is you're going through here. I noticed there's a lot of like the NPCs. They all have basically the same walk. Like it looks like a bunch of androids walking around. Look at that tree. Pieces of paper. Just pieces of paper laying on top of each other.
So the main focus when we're designing a city is obviously what supports the story. We try and tell as many small stories.
look at the foliage back here. Just pieces of paper laying on the ground.
As possible.
This is a colony war memorial.
The fire, I think, looks terrible. That flame right there just looks awful.
It's a few moments of gameplay that make the space feel like
This right here was another big one for me. Look at the ground here. It just looks like a carpet. It just looks like a green rug, and there's no depth to it whatsoever. It just seems just flat.
it's full of real characters that are going about their day-to-day lives.
It's paralyzing if you really stop and think about it.
Buddy, it's coffee.
It's also where your adventure with Constellation begins.
Okay, this was the big one to me. So, right away, I'm gonna say this: when this first dropped, because not this exact gameplay was shown a year ago, but it was very similar. Everyone was just bugging out like, oh, the facial animations look so good. Oh man, oh finally we're getting away from these dead eyes, and oh, just how the faces, they look real, and I feel like so invested, like I feel like they're talking to me. I was like, what the fuck are you looking at? What? Like, watch this. This to me, I was like, okay, it's better than Skyrim 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It's better than Fallout from, 8 years ago? It is better, but let's chill out there. It was like, this is hyping the shit out of this game.
Welcome to Constellation. We have a lot to talk about.
By the
Like, just the facial animations, no bueno.
Constellation is sort of seen as this mythical group. Most people don't even know they exist anymore. They're the last true explorers
I noticed right there, like you can see that the screen is like hitching.
from the galaxy, and they're trying to find the answers to some of humanity's biggest questions.
The artifacts are so different, so alien, and I'm certain one of them reached out and spoke to you. The artifact, if you could place it on the table here.
Oh my god. Look at how it's coming together.
Okay. Okay. All right. So the way she reacts. Oh man, that wasn't even intentional. I'm just trying to find a spot before this starts. Look at her face, dude. Like, this just looks bad. It looks so cheesy, and it's so funny. It's something that I noticed when you start to pay attention to. They have like a very distinct line right here in the middle of their forehead that moves, you know, and the eyebrows move, and then the mouth moves. It like just, but everything is very condensed and here. It just it looks terrible, and people love this. Bethesda fans they have just raved about this, like, oh, the facial animations look so good. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Watch your face. Hold on, I'm actually gonna slow this one down. Oh, sorry to do this to you, girl.
Oh my god.
Look at her face.
Look at how it's coming together.
It just looks awful. Oh my goodness. And again, I don't know, you know, when you love something, or you're a big fan of something, you'll go above and beyond to defend it. You know, like I'll go above and beyond to defend my family and you know, and give them a pass on most things, but my goodness, dude, like people were just going off about how great this looked. I just don't think it looks that great.
Built by an intelligent.
Like, look at this dude. You know, there's another thing too that I noticed, like they all look like they're made of clay. Like their skin, it just looks so polished and smooth. It just looks terrible. To me, they spent so much time making their clothes look realistic and the outfits and stuff, and the spaceships look cool, but man, the facial animations and the skin, just they look like clay figures.
It's definitely an eclectic cast of characters. You've got Sarah Morgan, the ex-soldier and adventurer, now Constellation's leader. Mateo, the theologian who
Clayface.
definitely something else out there. Noel, the gifted scientist and Sarah Morgan's protege. And Walter, a very successful...
The way he walks.
businessman with settled
Roop,
systems
doop, doop.
and Constellation.
Like, look at that, dude. Like, look at this. Like, he has almost no features. It just looks like the first rendering of a face, and then, or maybe like the third, but you got like 6 or 7 more passes to go to like make the details more and more realistic. They just gave up.
Financier.
Anything goes as long as you have the money.
There's also Vlad, the ex-pirate. Sam Coe, the former space...
Look at his eyes, man. Like, I don't see how people can say, oh, this is so amazing. Like, he looks like a doll. His eyes look like a doll's eyes.
Cowboy and Barrett.
You know what I hate about these pirates? Completely resistant to my otherwise irresistible charm.
Nothing moves. Nothing. Just his lips. He just talks like this, blah, 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 and his head does not move. He doesn't move around. He's not talking, and like, you know, he's like his mouth just sits there, and it only moves, and his eyes barely move.
The journey you take with Constellation is just the first of many you'll embark on. The Settled Systems is home to all kinds of different stories, people, and adventures for you to uncover.
Okay, that looks terrible. Sorry. Like, look at this, like the rubble and these this looks like leaves. It just looks, I noticed that right away. Like when I first saw the creature, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then when it slammed the ground down, it just looked terrible. Like the way everything flutters up.
The United Colonies is
So,
where you'll find New Atlantis.
let's go ahead and jump ahead.
Settlement in space. The people who live here
Let's see.
law, discipline, and the
So let's move ahead some, because I have a lot more to get to. Let's see here. Where was we at? Yeah. There was some, oh yeah, this is it. So let's jump up to here, because there's some more gunplay that I wanted to look at. Okay. Okay. So let's slow that. Actually, let's play this, and then I want to slow it down.
That one's a lot of fun. Invest in the skills that suit your playstyle. That one's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, let's back up here.
Kill aliens.
So to me, like the alien itself, they're pretty neat. They're pretty cool. But like, you know, what they're walking through, and it's a lot of quick cuts, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but you know, like what they're walking through real quick is they're showing you like the different perks you can get and the things that you can do, and that's cool and all. But to me, like you can see how the bullets are just not coming out of the gun.
I like maxing out my physical tree so I can get neuro strikes.
So here, let's slow this down because it's something that I noticed right away. It was really obvious the first time I saw this.
And just punch my way through.
Let's turn it down a little bit. Look at that. Didn't even touch him. That didn't touch him. Doesn't even look like it's close to him. Look at that. Like you're telling me that this right here made contact. Look at that. Look how far away he is. Like you can see the length of his gun. So there's some distance there between you and him. And then you punch right here in front of your face. Like look how close the fist is to the camera, to the player's face. And this dude goes flying. Just same thing there. He punched over here. Dude goes flying over there. Again, this part you can probably say are nitpicks, but I don't know. To me, I noticed it. That was the only time where it actually looked like he connected, so I guess that's okay.
That one's a lot of fun. Invest in the skills that suit your playstyle.
I'm very much a stealth player. So, I'm out there pickpocketing everyone. My favorite part about being stealthy is slowly creeping through vents like you're in a movie, and then jumping out and swinging on people.
Whenever possible, I like to talk my way through situations.
This area's off limits. Fine, I'll issue you an access card.
I'm more of a
Yeah, facial animation is just no good.
I like doing a death from above thing where I boost pack over guys.
Okay, this one right here. So I'm going to slow this one down because this is the other one that I thought was pretty bad. So you can see here. So you see the grenade icon. They threw a grenade, right? Okay, right there. His hand was over here, right? So let's back up. So this grenade icon, that's coming from the enemy. The enemy threw an icon at you. Or I'm sorry, threw a grenade at you, threw an icon. Okay, right there. See his hand right here? And then whatever was in his hand just disappeared, okay? And then it appears over here. That's no good. Sorry. And, you know, you don't really see it touch the ground. Again, when you're moving at full speed, it kind of looked okay. But I noticed it right away. I was like, wait, it looked like he put his hand out and it just was like a flash of something in his hand and then it was gone. And these are the little details to me that really, they sort of signify of what you're getting into. Because if details like these are being overlooked or at best just, you know, like, okay, we'll deal with it later, or it's as good as we can get it, how much more are the bigger issues going to be? Because if their focus isn't on the small details, like they constantly say they do, they're all about food. They're crazy about food. You can store sandwiches and crap like that. It's like, if you're focused on those little minute and just dumb details, what's up with the action, like the stuff that you're physically doing, the stuff that really matters to the gameplay itself? Instead of, you know, I can pick up every piece of sandwich, or I can pick up a glass or whatever, and I can store them on my ship. Why would that be the focus when you clearly need to focus on the gameplay mechanics, the shooting mechanics, and how things actually work, the physics? Explosion looks terrible. That fire looks awful. No. So, all right. So I think we've looked at, for the most part, that was the most of what I thought was really an issue for this game. You know, when I was watching this, those are the things that I noticed right away that I thought stuck out. So I'm going to go ahead and go over a couple of things here before I go ahead and wrap up for the night. Because there are some things on here that I wanted to talk about, particularly with just with where we are right now with with YouTubers and how where we are right now in the gaming industry and how we are dealing with critiques and criticism. We've reached a point now, in my opinion, that you cannot critique anything because it's going to offend someone. They're going to get their little feelings hurt. And then they started lobbing insults and names and shit like that. And we've reached that point, and I'm so over that. I'm just tired of it. But the thing that I think what gets me the most is I'm really tired of the lack of integrity with YouTubers, and I'm not standing on my high horse saying that I have the most integrity and that's why I'm awesome and they suck. The game Redfall and that release, to me, that really, it kind of pushed me away from YouTubers and pushed me away from listening to certain channels, because I used to listen to Xbox and PlayStation channels alike. I started dropping off from PlayStation channels because I was getting the feeling, I was like, okay, dude, it's like, I get it. We don't have to talk about every little thing that they do, but I get it. They're trying to make money, so they want to keep their channel going, and that's okay. But it just, to me, it was like, I got tired of the Sony just dropped a bomb on Microsoft and they're doing something like they just ended Microsoft's brain or whatever, or stupid things. And then I watched the video and it was like, Sony said that they're going to offer split screen on some game. And I was like, okay, cool. And I get it that Microsoft can't do that right now, but I got really tired of the hyperbole, even from the Sony guys. The other thing too, that bothered me talking about Redfall was when that game was coming out, there were so many people that were just defending and would just go to the mat for that game. And then there was a group of people who were flown out to, I think it was Los Angeles or wherever. I don't remember where it was, but it doesn't matter. They were flown out and put up in a hotel and paid for, like all round trip paid for, right? They got to play the game. And then they come back to their cameras and they go back to their subscribers and they tell lies. They lied about what they played. They lied and just tried to sell the game. And I think that's where we've reached, because there's so many podcasters and YouTubers out there who are former media. That's where they came from. They used to work at IGN. They used to work at, Game Informer. They used to work at Kotaku. They have that innate just feeling inside, or the action inside, to just always be media and be corporate. And I'm just tired of it. Like the Redfall thing, I'm telling you, I actually backed away from a few channels and I stopped watching some I used to watch a lot more gaming videos. I kind of backed away, and I had to kind of readjust and start finding someone else to watch, because I just was like, these guys are full of shit. Like, they're full of shit. They're not being honest. They're disingenuous, and they're doing it because they're getting paid to do it. They're getting paid to sell games. They're getting paid to promote games. They're not getting paid to review them. They're not getting paid to critique them. They're not getting paid to inform you, the subscriber, the super chatter, the member. They're not getting paid to give you information. They're paid to get you to purchase things and to make sure that everything is set in a lens that is acceptable by Microsoft or by Sony too. But I mean, the Redfall thing, just sticking with that in particular, it was so fucking obvious that these guys were lying, that they were making shit up. And when the game came out and they had egg on their face, these fuckers jumped through every hoop to make it seem like they were the ones who they tried to tell people, or they were the ones who were fooled and duped by Arcane. Like, that's not the game that they played. That's not the game. We didn't play that game. What I played was so better and so much. And Arcane, yeah, go get them. And it was like once the people, the customers, started turning on the game and turning on this shit product that Arcane put out there and Bethesda put out there and Microsoft put out there. Once the crowd turned, then all of these YouTubers turned too. Then they started pointing their guns at Arcane, and then some of them, well, and most of it was just at Arcane, and then they went to defending Phil Spencer and defending Microsoft and Xbox, and even defending Bethesda. Like, this is an Arcane problem, and Microsoft needs to get better and start controlling these smaller studios, because they can't keep doing this. And it's like, motherfucker, you played the game. You played the game and said it was amazing. You said it was Far Cry multiplayer. You couldn't get enough of it. I watched video after video leading up to that game, and listening to the guys that I used to listen to on a regular basis, Xbox guys, and just, agnostic gamers, which I think is bullshit anyways. I would listen to them talk about Redfall, and then, like, even when the things that were being brought up, like what was right in front of our eyes, the gameplay that was being shown and how it was being portrayed, it was like they defended the shit out of it. They went on and on about how that's not, like, oh, don't pay attention to that. IGN's trying to make them look bad. Whoever played the game, the IGN did, they messed it up. They're trying to sully Arcane's, good name, and Bethesda and all this other shit. And it's like, no, they weren't. No, they were not. They were playing a shit game at the best that they could. And I don't give a shit if that person was 6 months on the job. That game looked like trash, played like trash. The AI was trash. The graphics were trash. Lighting, everything was trash about that game. And these fuckers were defending the hell out of it. And I'm sorry, it changed the way that I watch YouTube. And it actually turned me off from watching gaming news, because after watching the hype and lead up and the leading people to the watering hole, drink up that Redfall, download the game, whatever, buy it and all this other shit. And then to watch when people were unhappy with what they were digesting, then it was turn the attention to Arcane and not themselves. They completely sidestepped any sort of accountability, any sort of responsibility to say, hey, listen, you know what? I thought they were going to fix this. What I played was a little rough around the edges, or just straight up, just after you play the game, come back and say, hey, this game was rough. It didn't look too good, struggling here, and the AI didn't seem too good. So, I'd wait and see, let the reviews come out. No, these guys were running back and saying, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to play this game. Oh my God, Redfall. Oh, Microsoft just hitting on all cylinders, baby. We got Redfall, we got Starfield coming out in the same year. Oh, what a time to be a gamer. What a time to be alive, man, because we're about to play some of the best stuff ever. And then it was shit. And then they just totally sidestepped the responsibility. I can't stand it, dude. I cannot stand that. That shit it just annoys the hell out of me, because they get away with it. They continue to do this shit, and they continue to get away with it. And I'm just tired of it. There's no genuine criticism or critiquing, or just, critical thinking about what people are actually seeing in front of you. Now, going into Starfield, I don't think Starfield's going to be just trash and it's awful and what are you doing, wasting your time. I think that this game is going to be good. It's not going to be great, but I think it's going to be good, and it's going to be good enough for the same people who were calling this game of the year. Beginning of 2023, there were conversations. People were putting videos out about the games coming out in 2023. What's the game of the year is looking like? And people were already throwing Starfield, an IP that's brand new. No one knows much about it, really. They're throwing it out there saying, oh, it's game of the year. It's easy. Oh yeah, that's going to be right in the mix. So we got Starfield, got Spider-Man 2, and oh yeah, they're going to be game of the year for sure. They're going to be in the mix. It's like, you don't know that. You don't know that, and that's the hype. That's the shit that they're telling their subscribers. They're telling people to get hype for this game. And people who, like myself, who criticize what I see, who critique what I see, they're just haters, bro. They're just trying to hate on you. They're jealous. They're jealous of Microsoft. They're jealous because they don't have Game Pass. Like, really, dude? Like, jealous? Like, what is this shit? That's like, it's schoolyard bullshit. It's schoolyard name calling. It's schoolyard finger pointing. It's just, it's a very immature way to look at this and to criticize and critique games and review games. you know, because these people are going to be doing reviews. And, you know, the Starfield is the type of game that's probably going to have legs because it is a very large game. It's going to have, I think, long legs. I think there's going to be like several playthroughs that you can go through, just like any other Bethesda game. You know, it's probably going to have multiple endings. It's probably going to have cool missions, like in terms of, and I don't, like I said, what I'm seeing gameplay wise, I don't think it looks that good. But I think that maybe the stories and stuff could be really good. Maybe that's where they're focusing all their attention. But when I see shit like this, when it's like, oh, sandwiches, I'm collecting sandwiches. Like, okay, how about you get the fucking shooting right? How about you get the melee attacks to actually touch, you know, to make it seem more realistic? And I just feel like it's just not focused on what it could be. And now that we are hearing about the exploration and how there's this tile system and how you can't just start walking in one direction. You have to leave space and then land on another spot. And I think I think that's a major flaw. And I think, to me, that's a misnomer. I think they've been misleading, you know, gamers. And I also think that all of the Defense Force Green and all of the Bethesda lovers, motherfuckers calling Todd Howard God Howard and shit, dude, stop that, dude. Stop it. Stop with this hold the line shit. Like, just knock it off, man. Look at the game for what it is. Judge it for what it is, okay? Not for what you want it to be, not for what you wish it would be, not for, oh, it's great because it's not on PlayStation. You know, it's like, judge the game for what it really truly is and review the game for what it actually is. And I understand that everyone has subjectivity. No one can be completely objective. That's impossible. No one can do it. Not myself, not you, not anybody else. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But when you blatantly lie about what you're playing to get people to buy the shit or play the shit so that you can get access to Phil Spencer interviews, so that you can get Satya Nadella on the phone and get him to talk on your podcast, so you can sit down with Todd Howard, so you can get these guys to fly you out and play the games and get these, you know, the sneak peeks and all this other stuff. If you're doing that, you're a fucking dick. Okay? You're a liar and you have no integrity. And that's what I'm fed up with. That's what I'm just completely tired of. And the Redfall situation, like I said, it's not the first and it won't be the last, but that one to me was one of the games that I was really paying attention to. I was interested in what was coming because Microsoft having Bethesda under their umbrella, them being now a first-party studio, them being who they are a well-known studio in the industry. I have high expectations from a studio this big, and so many people are already out there. They're already blocking and running cover like, oh, the game's going to have bugs. Like it is, you know, it's a Bethesda game, but that's the charm, dude. I mean, I still think I'm going to sink like 100 hours into this game, you know, and yeah, I mean, there's going to be bugs and there's going to be crashes, but that's not a bad thing. That's just what Bethesda is. And it's like, you have programmed yourself to lower your expectations, because if you don't, then you're going to have to criticize, you're going to have to be honest, and you're going to lose access and you're going to lose money. And that means you're a piece of shit. I'm sorry. If that is your measure of what integrity is if integrity to you is, oh, I need to keep Xbox happy, I need to keep Bethesda happy and Phil Spencer happy, or I'm going to lose access. But that's okay, because you know what? I still have 50,000 subscribers. I'm still getting monetized by YouTube. I'm still making a paycheck, and I still got fans, you know? And it's like, yeah, it's a fucking echo chamber. Good for you. Yeah. And they wear out, dude. They all wear out. Eventually, the truth will catch up to you. And if you're going to continue to sacrifice integrity for access and for money, the shit's going to bite you. It's going to come get you. And I'm just tired of it. I really am. I've just after the Redfall, you know, like I said, it wasn't the first time I've seen a game get that sort of treatment, but man, it just really stuck with me. I just got really annoyed with it. So, you know, just looking at my predictions, I was just thinking about it, you know, I really think that this game is probably going to score in the 80s. And it's so funny because, you know, whenever that we talk about scoring, it's like scores don't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, like it's just one person's opinion and da. And then when, you know, Xbox has a game come out and score high, it's like, oh, you know, 90 on Metacritic, 89 on Metacritic. What's up, Sony? Suck it. It's like, I thought scores didn't matter. I thought they didn't matter at all. I mean, to me, I put a I put about half of the stock into what Metacritic says, because I know that some of those reviewers are paid by Xbox and paid by Sony and paid by Nintendo and by studios. So I know their opinion is going to be jaded, but I don't discard all of Metacritic, but I sure as hell don't push all my chips in and say, oh, whatever Metacritic says, that's all that matters. And I really do. I think that I think this game is going to score pretty good. If I had to guess, I think it's going to score in probably like the high 80s and mid 80s. Just because, as I'm telling you, it's just, people are so hype about this game. They're going off about it. Everyone's saying like what it could be. I can't wait to do this, and all these things that are being promised. You know, and I think that the news that came out about the traveling around and the different areas that you can't travel and how the tile system works, I think that's going to hold it back. And I just, what I really want to see is just people be honest about the shit. Just be honest. Just say, hey, listen, I like the game, but yeah, it sucks, and I don't think it deserves a 90. You know, it deserves an 80 or a 75. You know, just be honest about it. But you know, it's not going to happen. I think people are they're gonna score the shit out of this. They're gonna go over and above, just like they always do. And it doesn't matter how buggy it is. It doesn't matter how broken it is. All of that, the quality assurance shit just gets pushed to the side when it's a very, very large studio that has a lot riding on it, because Xbox has a ton riding on the success of this game. They already swung and a miss with Redfall. That was just bad. It looked bad. It was terrible, and that's Xbox now. That's their studio. So this game, whether you like it or not, there's a lot riding on this game, and I just think that the industry, the gaming industry, and the media, they're gonna make sure this motherfucker's successful. I'm telling you, this game is going to be successful in the eyes of the media, because they're already running cover. YouTubers are already running cover. They're already saying like, oh, just stop hating, jealousy, and all this other stupid shit. And it's like, okay, all right, keep being dishonest. You know, like I said, it's gonna get you one day. If not today, tomorrow, next week, it's going to get you, you know. And I just hate that's where we are right now. That, you know, that media, everyone knows that media is trash. They all work together. They work with these studios. They're all, you know, giving each other, you know, perks and you know, inside interviews and giving them, you know, the scoop and shit like that. And they also know that studios know they're going to get good reviews. So that's just something that's going to happen. But I think now we've just graduated to now all the former media from 10 years ago, they all have their own channels and they got some big followings, and they are just regurgitating and they're reinstating those same principles and that same way of grading games and reviewing games and covering games. It's still the same. They're doing the exact same thing, only they're saying, I'm independent. I'm an independent media person now. But it's the same fucking story. Same story. It's a different day, same story. So, but yeah, that's it. You know, like I said, Starfield, we'll see what happens. I'd like to do another video on this. I really wish I would like to play this game, you know, because I want to be able to give my own opinions on what I think this game is going to be. And you know, and then I want to play it and say like, oh no, this is really good, or this is really bad. You know, I want to be able to do that, but I'm not going to buy an Xbox for this. I don't have a PC. I have a laptop, but it's just a work laptop. I don't have anything strong enough that I would want to run Starfield like on Game Pass through my PC or my laptop. So can't do it, but we'll see what happens. You know, there's a lot riding on this one. But yeah, let me go ahead and back this up. I think we're done here. Let's just go back to the old Bethesda logo. We'll leave it there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to the release. I think it comes out next week. There's going to be a lot of stuff. The news is already flying around. And I might cut another video once I find out some more stuff. If I see any more gameplay or something that I actually sink my teeth into, I'm going to review it just like this. But I'm going to let you go. Thank you for sticking around. I will see you in the next video. Bye.